Hi guys, the right-wing press and client journalism have always had the same goal when it comes to the issue of strikes: undermine those taking industrial action. Now, when Mick Lynch and others started appearing on the airwaves, the media misrepresented the strikes as well-paid train workers being greedy. The reality was pointed out to them by people like Lynch and his deputy Eddie Dempsey that the focus of the industrial action was to get better paying conditions for the lowest paid in the transport sector. When smearing workers didn't succeed, they are now attempting to smear those speaking on their behalf. Nick Ferrari spoke to Mick Lynch here, and he used the old technique, "some people say," in an attempt to smear Eddie Dempsey. Have a listen.
Word on a bit of a row over one of your colleagues, Eddie Dempsey, who I think is your deputy, if I've got that right, who, it is reported, lives in taxpayer-subsidised social housing in Islington Council. And as you rightly point out, you say, when did council housing become
taxpayer giving to his housing?
Yes, as you rightly point out, when did council housing become for people that are poor? You don't have to be poor. You're absolutely right, of course, Mr. Lynch, but do you not agree that he might be blocking that property for somebody who is not in receipt of a six-figure salary? That's a fair point, isn't it?
Now, Nick Ferrari says here a six-figure salary, that Eddie Dempsey is living in a council house while earning a six-figure salary. Just think about that for a moment.
Well, he's not in receipt of a six-figure salary for starters, so I know what his salary is because he works for me and he doesn't receive a six-figure salary.
I apologise. I would imagine it's a healthy salary, though.
Six-figure salary either.
Okay, I would imagine
he gets a healthy salary. He gets well paid for his job.
So
he got his council.
I understand he gets £78,200. Mr. Lynch, please. He gets £78,282.
So Nick Ferrari had the information in front of him. He had the number in front of him, 78,000, whatever it is. And he deliberately started off the interview by misrepresenting Eddie Dempsey's salary. Like, he didn't do it by accident. He had the figure right in front of him because he actually brought it out after. Obviously, he saw the number before because he knew the number was on the piece of paper in front of him. This dishonesty here, an attempt to smear Eddie Dempsey. But he gets further into this and it doesn't work out too well for Nick Ferrari.
Something like that, yes.
Yeah, plus pension contributions and others. So he gets a basic salary of 70.
Yeah,
should he be in council accommodation if he's earning that? Is he not possibly blocking it for a family, someone who's not in receipt of that amount of money?
I don't think he is blocking it at all. What he got is his council flat that he got as a person on the register when he was a railway worker. And he and his partner live there with his children, and they have the tenancy like all council tenants do.
Yes, indeed.
And when he's ready to move, I assume he'll move. It's not a question of when you earn a few more bob, you get evicted from your council
I'm
flat.
not saying it is. I'm not saying it is.
When I lived, well, that's what you seem to be.
No,
that's what
I'm asking is someone on.
He's been in the job he's got since October last year,
right,
when he got elected to office. And before that, he was a railway worker, and he received his council flat by waiting on the list like other council tenants.
But lastly, is the point
is him to do? Be evicted because he's got a new job?
Mr. Lynch, if you'll let me say,
well, that seems to be what you're implying.
Well,
that's exactly what he's implying. That because he changed job, he wasn't on this figure before. He received a bonus, he received more money because he was promoted in his career. And Nick Ferrari is suggesting that he should be kicked out of his council house.
If you'd pause and allow me to...
You seem to be implying that he shouldn't live there. It's his tenancy and he pays the rent. I'm not aware that he's in receipt of any subsidy from anyone.
Nick Ferrari owned here. He's trying to suggest that, look at this guy, he's disconnected. He's not connected to ordinary people. He's living it up. He's a champagne socialist. He's not an ordinary worker. He's not somebody who can connect to the lives of ordinary people. This is what Nick Ferrari is attempting to do here, and it's not working out very well for him.
Mr. Lynch, if you let me make my point...
Are you aware that he's on some subsidy?
You're not letting me make my point respectfully. I'm always saying that someone who has a salary of that level, 70+ thousand, some would say... So Nick Ferrari is disconnecting himself from this smear. It's not me that's trying to smear Eddie Dempsey. I'm just highlighting the fact that some people are attempting to smear him by, first of all, saying that he is on a six-figure salary, which turned out to be false, even though I knew it was false.
And now I'm suggesting that, well, maybe he should move into more expensive accommodation.
Some would say is in some way blocking that accommodation for families more in need. That was the point I was making.
Well, what we need is more council houses so that people from all sorts of incomes can live in mixed environments. When I was living in a council flat in the 60s and 70s with my parents, there were people from all sorts of backgrounds living in council flats. The problem is that the government stopped building council flats and houses, so that we can't have that mixed environment in our inner cities of people living comfortably side by side from all sorts of backgrounds. And what we need is a mixed environment of people from all income levels living cooperatively in council accommodation. And I don't believe he should be evicted because he's got a new job.
I totally agree with you. I'm not...
That's wonderful. I love Mick Lynch because he was able to turn this attempt to smear his deputy, Eddie Dempsey, into an argument for more council houses. There's a waiting list. Why is there a waiting list? Is it because Eddie Dempsey is somehow blocking other... No, there's a waiting list because the government are not willing to provide the funding available to build new council houses. And Mick he's amazing. He was able to turn this smear around and focus it on the real issue. The real issue is there's a shortage of council houses. Now, if Eddie Dempsey is not in receipt of any sort of benefits, then he has every right to stay in his council house. And if there's a problem with somebody earning a six-figure salary, as Nick Ferrari is pointing out, well, that's a problem with the system. It's not a problem with the individual. So Nick Ferrari should be angry with the government for two reasons: for allowing people with six-figure salaries to stay in council houses, but also that there aren't enough council houses because so many people are on a waiting list. Well done to Mick Lynch for turning this around and focusing on the real issue here, not on the smear. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.